started. All right, I want to welcome everybody. We're going to get started here. Okay, welcome. This is our talk on moving to JavaFX and the NetBeans Platform. My name is Paul Anderson. This is Gail Anderson, and we are the co-founders of the Anderson Software Group. And this is our website address, asgteach.com. Okay, so who are we? We're a training company where we do courses in the U.S. and in Europe and worldwide. And we teach courses in Java, JavaFX, C++, and Python. And we're actually based in California, so we are a long way from home. And it's much colder here than where it is where we are. We're really happy to be here. Thanks to Tony and Gerton and some of the others. We speak every year at Java 1 in San Francisco. And when Tony said that he was doing NetBeans Day here in Munich, we jumped on it. So we said, we'll do it. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we really support this NetBeans. We're not with Oracle or anything. We have our own training company, and we've been working in Java for a long time. But we really think these NetBeans Day get-togethers are really great. Especially for a chance for you guys to interact with each other, and also for us to be able to meet you is really great. Okay, so we're authors. We've written, how many books? Eight books on programming languages. And our latest one here is JavaFX Rich Client Programming on the NetBeans Platform.
Show and tell.
And here it is. This book just came out in the fall, and we're very proud of it. We worked on it very hard. It is all Java 8, JavaFX 8. It's all the latest stuff. And we actually took longer for us to finish the book because when Java 8 came out, we really said we've got to do this, right? And we brought 2 copies with us from the U.S., and we don't intend to go home with them. Okay?
They're heavy.
And by the way, they're not thick, they're just heavy. Right? So, yeah, okay, so remember that. When you say that it's a thick book, change the word to big. I mean to, heavy. Yeah, that's what I mean. Okay, and the other thing that I should tell you is that Gail and I have been into JavaFX for quite a while. Sun had us write a book on the scripting language when JavaFX first came out. And so we had a lot of experience with FX from the beginning. Of course, now you know it's all APIs, and it's readily available in the JDK. We are going to have a book giveaway at the end of the talk, and I'll tell you how we're going to do that when we get there. Okay? The other thing that I should tell you is that we also are doing live lesson videos. I just had a new JavaFX programming video that came out in January with Pearson and the live lessons program, and I have an earlier one on Java Reflection, and we'll tell you about that too. Now, before we get started, I want to tell you 2 things. One is all the code that you guys are going to see today, we're going to make available in a zip file, so you can look at the code and download it yourself and run it, which I encourage you to do because it's a good learning. We designed these applications so you could learn and see the power of the NetBeans platform as it works with JavaFX. And the other thing, and we'll tell you later at the end how you can get the zip file and everything else. The other thing I wanted to tell you is the slides that you're going to see today are also in the zip file. Okay, so you'll get that too. Okay, so you don't have to worry about copying anything down or anything like that. You can get that later. Okay, so before we get started, how many folks in here are already using the NetBeans platform?
Wow.
Excellent. All right. How many people are using JavaFX? Okay. How many people are using JavaFX with the NetBeans platform? All right, you guys can all leave the room now. Okay. So for those of you that know the NetBeans platform, we can go quickly through. And what we're going to do is we know that some of you know the platform and some of you don't. So we will do some simple things at the beginning. But for those of you that know the platform, you can see how to use JavaFX, because we're going to show you how to integrate it and how all that works. And for those of you that don't know the NetBeans platform, then you get to learn both, right? So that's what we'll do. Okay. All right. So here's our agenda. We're going to start off with a really simple Swing application and standalone. And then we're just going to pour it over to the NetBeans platform. So for those of you that already know the NetBeans platform, this will be a straightforward thing for you. If you aren't familiar with the NetBeans platform, then this will be a good place for you to start, because We're going to take something that you already know and show you how to implement it in the platform. And then I'm going to talk about JavaFX and why you want to use FXML. And then we're going to talk about how to integrate JavaFX into top components as Windows in the NetBeans platform. And I want to talk about the communication strategies, which is very important, threads and so forth, right? And we have a lot of, we've studied this, we wrote about it in our book, and we'll be able to tell you all about that. And we're also going to re-implement the Swing application that you saw before with JavaFX, and then you can see what the differences are, see? And see, oh, what does JavaFX bring that's better than Swing and why? And then, of course, these programs are going to be simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you some more realistic, sophisticated applications, Family Tree app, and our JavaFX charts program. And we'll just demo those for you, but you guys will see, will have access to the source code, and you can study those on your own. We'll wrap it up with a summary at the end, and then we'll have a Q&A to discuss what we have to do there. And I think it would be a good idea, if you have a question, just hold on to it till we get there, because we do want to open it up to questions and so forth when we do that. Okay. All right, so let's get started. We'll do this quickly, right? Because we just have to have something to start with. Simple Swing application here, working with a list of people. We're going to have a JFrame with multiple JPanels. The left side of the UI will be a JTree. The right side will just be the Swing controls. We'll have a model class in person.java and a family tree manager to work with person objects. We'll have property change events, which a lot of you know about. And the JTree is going to allow a user to select events on the left side, and we'll have a Swing UI form on the right. Now this is just a standalone Swing program, no JavaFX and no NetBeans Platform. Something to just get us started, right? Okay, so Gail's going to switch over to NetBeans now, and we have this project open. And let's go ahead and run this first, and so you can just see it. It's really pretty simple, right? There's a JTree on the right with a list of people. Gail can select those, and then they appear in a form on the right. And she can also type in a middle name. The update button will be enabled at the bottom, and then as soon as she clicks on it, you can see the property change make the middle name show up in the left. Okay? Pretty standard stuff for UI, right? But again, there's no framework for this, right? We had to implement our own JFrame and our own JPanels and make it all work, and we've been doing this for a long time, right? Okay, so real quickly in the program, you can stop the program now. Let's look at the person.java first. It's just a Java bean, right? As Gail scrolls down here, you can see there's fields, first name, middle name, last name, and so forth. There's property change support and constructors to initialize the fields, and getters and setters. So it's pretty straightforward, right? And the only reason I'm showing this to you is because when we get into JavaFX, this is going to look different, right? It's going to have JavaFX properties, so that's why we're doing that. Okay, the family tree manager, if we move to this one, his job is to maintain a list of people. It's not a database. We're doing very simple things now. In line 20 here, by the way, can you guys see this all okay? Great. In line 20, you see a hash map in there that keeps track of an ID for a person, and it's a singleton that you see down in line 34, and then property change listeners that can be registered, and then as Gail moves down, you can see the methods are to add a person, update a person, delete a person, and then we have a method to get all of the people out of the hash map. And by the way, take a look at line 73. We're using strings. Like Kirk was talking about this morning.
But the ID helps you convert normal for loops to strings.
Yeah, the great thing about the NetBeans IDE is that it's easy to move into lambdas and streams because the IDE will put up a little yellow bubble there and ask you if you want to convert it over to JDK8 features. But I just wanted to let you guys be aware that we do have, you will see lambdas in our code here, and this is an example of using streams with a collection class, right? Okay, now let's go look at the UI. We used Matisse, right, which is all available in the NetBeans IDE, so we could drag and drop our components, and it would generate Java code for us, and that's what you're seeing here, which we already showed the program. And if Gail clicks on the source and
Oh, I know.
yeah,
Sorry.
oh, you second move that over.
This
Yeah.
is, really, I don't know what happened there.
Oh, well, the window's like stretched or something.
No, it's,
Yeah, that's okay.
there we go. Okay.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. Cool. Is that good? Okay. Anyway, just a standard J-frame here. We have some logging in there, and if she scrolls down, you'll see the build data. Right? If you scroll up here, yeah, the build data is going to initialize. The build data is going to initialize the stuff, the form, and with the init components, and then the create nodes is going to populate the JTree. And then we have configure listeners, and as Gail scrolls down again, remember that when you use Matisse, it's generating Java code for you, and you'll see that down here in the generated code. There it is. Again, I'm pointing that out to you because when we get into JavaFX, things are going to be different, and that's the point of what we want to do here. Okay, and I think that's good enough for what we want to do to get started here. Okay, let's go back to the notes then. Oh, you want to close this project, right? Good. All right, now a lot of you know about the NetBeans platform already, so we could do this quickly, right? But I'm just doing this for the folks in the room that are, I've heard about the NetBeans platform. I know it's underneath the IDE. What's the big deal about it? Why would I want to be interested in it? And the reason is that the NetBeans platform gives you this framework that we haven't had in Swing when we design UIs, right? We've always had to do everything ourselves. And quickly, the NetBeans platform provides a menu bar, a toolbar, a window system, an action framework, and lookup services. And it encourages you to design as a loosely coupled architecture. All of this helps you reduce development time. It runs on all the platforms, and it has a very active community. So we always like to point out to people that the NetBeans platform is a framework that you should take a look at if you have to do some sophisticated GUI. It's worth learning. Okay, now we're going to take just a small subset of the NetBeans platform here to show you what we're going to do. It's got a lot more than what you see here, but we're going to grab the toolbar, menu bar. Of course, you're going to see that the windows are detachable and resizable. We're not going to write any code to do that. We're going to take our Swing program and divide it into modules, and then we're going to have lookups for these things called services, and we'll still have our JTree and property change listener. But what we're going to do now is take that Swing program that you just saw, and we're going to port it over to the NetBeans platform. And for those of you that haven't seen the platform before, you'll see what the advantages are. Okay, now before we show you the program, the modules, I mentioned the word modules a little bit there, and that's a very key concept in the NetBeans platform, which a lot of you know, and that's the ability to have a contract between two modules, where in the NetBeans platform, you can specify that certain packages in module A will be public, and then you can set a dependency in another module on that so it can access them. And this is the big concept behind the NetBeans platform to enforce loose coupling. And the other advantage is that the modules can be small, independent pieces that are easier to maintain than a single big monolithic file. Also, the NetBeans platform lets you provide updates only for the modules that you change, so you don't have to reinstall or rebuild your app. Okay, so let's move this Swing program over to the NetBeans platform. So you can, for those of you that haven't seen this, just to see how that can be done. Okay? And here's how we're going to do that. We're going to create a NetBeans platform application. We're going to take that Swing code and divide it into modules. In fact, here are the names. Person Viewer module for the left side of the UI. A Person Editor module for the right side of the UI. The Family Tree Manager, remember that? That's going to be a service in the NetBeans platform. And then we're going to make it an interface, and then we're going to have a separate implementation. And you'll see why we're going to do it that way in a second. But when we do all this, we're going to have the same basic behaviors that we had in the other program, but we're going to have some newer capabilities. Okay, so let's go back to NetBeans, and Gail's going to bring up the next project. And run it. And this is our little family tree app program. Okay, now it looks like the swing program, right? Gail can go over and select a person in the list and put in a middle name. And the update button becomes updated, and you see it done on the left. So it looks pretty much the same, right? But it is a NetBeans Platform application. So now we can do things like this. She can float the window, move it around the screen, resize it, and dock it back on the toolbar. She can also do that for the other window. And remember, for those of you that haven't seen this before in the NetBeans platform, we're writing no code to do this. This is all part of the framework, right? So all we had to do was take that swing code and put it in this thing, and the framework is handling everything else. The other thing that you get is a toolbar up above and a menu bar that you can access as well, although we're not going to use those in this program. Okay? All right, now let's, for those of you that haven't seen this before, let's take a look at some of the code now. And before we do that, let's start with the modules. If Gail goes over to the project view here and expands the modules node, here are the 4 modules in the NetBeans platform that we have created. We have the person editor and the viewer, which we talked about, the family tree model, and the family tree manager implementation. So let's go to the person viewer top component first. And when I say top component, by the way, if you don't know what that means, that would be one of the windows that you see, that the window manager is using in the NetBeans platform. And what Gail just did was she brought up the viewer. This is the J tree, right, that we had in the swing program. And the great thing is, remember we used Matisse to drag and drop the components and build this? We just copied that Matisse thing right over into the NetBeans platform through the IDE, so there wasn't anything special that we had to do with that at all. And if you go to the other one, the editor top component, you'll see the other side of the form. Again, all just copied and pasted the Matisse file over there into this, so that was really easy to do.
And I just want to interject something. When you go to convert something to a NetBeans platform application, you generally look at your UI, and the major portions of your UI you put in its own module, and that keeps everything separate and isolated, and then you can have very set ways of communicating between those modules if you need to. In this case, our UI modules don't need to communicate directly with each other.
Right. Okay, so so what we want to do now is we want to show you some of the other code that we had. So go to the person.java, and you'll see right away that this is unchanged from the swing code that we had before.
You might not see it right away, but
yeah,
believe us.
You can believe us, okay. So there wasn't any changes to this that was done at all. But what about the family tree manager? What happened with that? Let's go check that out. If you look in line 14 right here, you'll see that now in the NetBeans platform has become an interface, and the methods that you saw in the original swing code are now public abstract methods that have to be implemented by some implementation. So that's why we have a module for the implementation, which we'll look at next now. And here you'll see the code that was in the swing program that was for the family tree manager. Remember the hash map that I pointed out and the add and remove listeners? But there's another important thing that's going on here. Again, for you folks that don't know about the NetBeans platform, check out line 19. We now have an annotation that is saying that this is a service. Okay, the family tree manager is a service that will provide this to whoever wants it. And of course, that's going to be top components. When they need an instance of the family tree manager, they won't know it themselves. They will look it up in the NetBeans platform, and then they'll get an instance of it. And why is this a good thing? Because I can change the implementation for the family tree manager. I can get rid of this one, and I can have a database or some other way of storing persons, right? And we didn't have that capability in the swing program, but through a service concept in the NetBeans platform, that's a good thing. Okay. All right, so yeah, we got that, and now let's go to the top components. That would be the windows, and see what they look like.
Which one?
And we'll go to the, let's go to this one, the editor, and just click on the source. Okay, now when Gail scrolls up here, you'll see some annotations. Up too far. Can you go back? Yeah. These annotations right here, again, for those of you that don't know about top components in the NetBeans platform, when we built the window and we went through a series of wizards to create it, we configured it. And when we configured it, those end up being the annotations that you see, and those can be changed, and you can set them up any way you want to. But a top component is a window. Notice it extends top component itself, which is a swing component. But the code that you're looking at here now is going to be the code that you saw that we implemented in the swing program. It's going to be a bit different, right? Because there is some wrapping code that has to be done with the NetBeans platform. But all the code is still here, and it's all modularized for you. And if you go down to line 105, important thing to see here.
Yep, that's the other one.
Oh, that's the other one. Sorry. Yeah, go to 300. Let's just
Well,
do that.
I'm at 105.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is
just go
105.
down. Yeah, we went to the other one first, but that's okay.
Okay, this
Yeah,
is
okay, there it is. Okay, so this is how this top component gets an instance of the family tree manager. It's done through the lookup, and we give it the class name for the family tree manager, and we get back an instance of that, and then we can use it. And the other top component will make the same.
Yeah, and this client code won't change if you provide a different
Yeah.
implementation.
Right. Okay, so let's go back to the notes now. All right, now, what have we done, right? Not much at this point. We had a swing program, we ported over the NetBeans platform. That was mostly for the folks in here that haven't seen that before. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is JavaFX. Okay, and this is really what the talk's about, is, we got this, Oracle has encouraged Swing developers to move to JavaFX. If you move to JavaFX, you have the same issue that you had in Swing. Where's the framework, right? We didn't have one for Swing, and JavaFX doesn't have one either, so we're suggesting that you could use the NetBeans platform if this requirement is important to you, to have the windowing system and everything else set up for you. So we're going to show you this afternoon. I'm going to start off with JavaFX, and then I'm going to talk about FXML first, and then we'll come back and show you some more things. So let's start off with JavaFX. All right, now JavaFX is coming on the scene very big these days because people are realizing that the features that it has are very, very desirable for the user experience for UIs. It has a scene graph hierarchy that manages a node structure that you can manipulate, and the implementation of the renderer that's used for JavaFX is very fast and very efficient. Okay? You have effects, gradients, radial gradients, linear gradients, reflection, drop shadows. These things make UIs come to life and look very, very nice, and they're very easy to do in JavaFX. You also have high-level animations. Very easy to do. We'll be showing those to you very, very shortly. You also have a 3D API if you need to do any 3D stuff. And the charts is one of the really great things about FX, is that you have a whole set of charts that you can use. It's all in the APIs, and we'll be showing you some examples of that later on today. The other reason why you want to use JavaFX is because it has properties and binding. Now, properties in JavaFX is not the same as a property in JavaBeans. It's a whole different concept. And binding, if you haven't seen this before, is a really, really nice way to use APIs in a very concise form most of the time, so that you don't have to implement interfaces and register listeners and get callbacks. And I'll talk more about that on the next slide. JavaFX is automatically bundled with a JDK, so there's no plugins, there's no jar files that you have to load on the class path. It's directly accessible in the NetBeans platform, and you can use JavaFX for in situations in your UI where you want to increase the visualizations of your data. Okay, now I mentioned a second ago about properties and bindings. This is a very, very big deal in JavaFX. So what is a JavaFX property? It is an observable class that wraps field data. If you look at a normal Java class, which is a POJO, you have fields, right? And you have setters and getters to modify the field's values and get them back, right? But when someone else changes that, when someone else calls that setter to change your field, you have to go through a lot of plumbing code in Java to make sure that someone else is notified.